I moved around a lot when I was a kid. Anchorage, Dallas, Jakarta, Indonesia, Houston, and Chicago, all before the age of 19. In a lot of ways, this was an amazing experience. I learned how to make new friends. I learned how to adapt to new environments and cultures. I even learned how to speak a second language fluently. In each place I lived as a young person, I tried desperately to be part of a community. Sometimes I was really successful. Sometimes I was completely rejected. And more often than not, I spent a lot of time compromising who I was as a person in an effort to be accepted. Why? Because like most people, community is important to me. And also, like many people, I lacked so many of the life skills necessary to be a contributing member to those communities, so I struggled just to fit in. Eventually, I grew up, kind of, and went off to university to study acting. I was going to be the next big movie star, or stage actor, or maybe I was just going to make enough money to eat and pay rent, but I was going to do it. During my second year of university, I was introduced to this incredible youth program that used this unique methodology called Social Circus. Social Circus is the learning and performing of the circus arts as a vehicle to build inclusive spaces where participants feel a deep sense of belonging. And while you're building these safe spaces for kids, you're also teaching valuable life lessons like cooperation, communication, and commitment. Sounds pretty cool, right? I started volunteering and teaching at this social circus in Chicago a couple days a week, and within 6 months, my entire perspective had shifted. This was the type of program I needed when I was a kid. A program that taught me how to embrace my authentic self. A program that gave participants all the pieces they needed to be in community with each other, regardless of how similar or different their lives outside the circus were. I would have spent a lot fewer days sitting alone at lunch if I'd had a program like this when I was growing up. And all of a sudden, my life's direction was clear. No longer did I want to be on stage or screen making people laugh. I wanted to be part of a movement that had a deep and meaningful impact in people's lives. You can imagine the excitement on my father's voice. My father, who worked for the same company most of his career and was really trying hard to support his bohemian son's artistic dreams of becoming an actor, when I called to tell him I had decided I wasn't going to be an actor after all. Instead, I was going to teach people how to do circus. I want everybody to take a moment and think about the last time you were in a space where you were celebrated for who you are. A space where you were constantly growing and learning with the people around you. A place where you felt better after leaving, even if you were only there for just a couple minutes. Take your time and think about it. Really think about it. Okay. Maybe not that much time. I have a time limit up here. What if we could recreate that feeling, that space, that community for everyone who wanted it? Wouldn't that be incredible? That's what Social Circus does. What drove me to Social Circus in the first place, and what has driven me to work around the world developing and growing Social Circus programs for 2 decades, is its transformative power to build authentic communities and teach life lessons that I don't believe are taught as successfully elsewhere. There are Social Circus programs around the world doing incredible work and making impactful shifts in the lives of their participants. A good friend of mine has been in Afghanistan for over 20 years teaching young people how to juggle and tumble. This program helps kids find and feel joy even in the middle of the most unimaginable danger. There's an inspiring program in Cambodia that trains young people how to be professional circus performers, opening international doors for them to perform with some of the biggest circuses on the planet. I worked with a woman from Australia who spent a large part of her career working with women who'd had severe violence inflicted upon them, using the circus to teach each other how to trust again and how to have safe physical interactions. I founded an organization with my wife and best friend in Indonesia that worked with kids and their families who lived in incredibly impoverished situations. This program helps kids build confidence and joy and advocates for their right to education and a childhood free from harsh conditions. What do all these circus programs around the world share? They teach life skills through the circus while building a very intentional type of community where the needs of their participants are met. Oh, and everyone learns how to juggle. I know what you're thinking. What is this guy up here talking about? Is he really trying to convince us that the circus can change the world? Yes, I am. Social Circus teaches 3 valuable life skills that allow for authentic relationships to thrive. When authentic relationships thrive, communities flourish. When communities flourish, beautiful and powerful things can happen. Commitment. One of the first things you learn in the circus is commitment. Commitment to the process of learning, commitment to your peers and instructors, but most importantly, commitment to yourself. Throughout my career, I have taught thousands of people how to juggle. My claim to fame is I've never met a willing student who I couldn't teach to juggle. Usually it takes about 30 minutes. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but if you follow the process, you'll get there within a reasonable amount of time. It's not just following the steps, though, that matters. It's also committing to the process with an open mind and an open heart. More often than not, when a participant is struggling, it's because they're saying or thinking things like, "This is too hard for me," or "I'm going to be the first person who he's ever not been able to teach to juggle." In Social Circus, we learn not only to commit to the process of learning complex activities in simple steps, but also to the emotional process of learning to not give up on ourselves. Cooperation. Social Circus is non-competitive. I know this is antithetical to so much in our capitalist society that teaches us from a very young age to win and to take and to dominate. But non-competition is the key that allows participants to focus on the process of learning together instead of being in competition with one another. Whether you're in the gym or you're practicing or you're on stage performing, you have to cooperate deeply with your partners. If one partner is less advanced in a certain area than the others have to be more advanced to compensate. If I'm trying to lift you up into a fancy acrobatic pyramid and your technique isn't as advanced as it needs to be, I have to be more solid and stronger in my technique to make it easier for you so that we can succeed together. Personally, I try to engage this level of cooperation into all of my relationships. When my wife is struggling to keep up with the responsibilities in her life because she is working full-time and studying for her master's full-time and parenting full-time, I know it's my responsibility to pick up a few extra tasks off the parenting list or make dinner a couple extra times this week because this is how I support her. It's never about being fair or exactly equal. It's about being the kind of partner that steps up when you're needed and trusting that when I need support, my partners will be there for me in the ways that they can. We teach these lessons in Social Circus. Cooperate as a partner. It's never about being fair or equal. It's about giving what you can and taking what you need and communicating these cooperative needs together. Which brings me to the third lesson of Social Circus, communication. In the circus, you have to communicate. We communicate when to start and when to finish. We communicate what is working and what isn't working. When we're teaching a participant to tumble or spotting them on the tight wire, We teach that they have the right to consent when someone else can touch their body. By creating a community where it is the norm to ask first and then touch, we're working against the conquer culture that consumes so many intimate relationships. In Social Circus, we teach to ask permission every time, not just the first. And we teach that there are alternatives to being touched if you're uncomfortable today or with a certain person. These types of interactions allow participants to experience this level of respect and communication in a low-stakes environment, so that when they're out there in the real world, they're empowered to expect these respectful interactions at all times. Imagine for a moment what the world could be like if we all learned from a young age to communicate our needs clearly, and that a lack of communication didn't equal permission. Social Circus participants learn these lessons. I've worked with thousands of people over the years and witnessed Social Circus's transformative power on participants and their communities around the world. But nowhere have I witnessed Social Circus's life lessons so proudly present than within my own children. My son started attending his first Social Circus lesson 13 years ago. He was only 6 months old and spent most of the time in a baby carrier on my chest or being passed from teenager to teenager, but he's been around Social Circus since before he can remember. My daughter, too. Our family has been fortunate to expose our children to these authentic communities for their entire lives. My son is a full-fledged teenager now, and somehow he knows how to have complex conversations about his needs, and he knows what it means to be a contributing member to our community. My daughter is a constant reminder to revel in her joy and our power. She's the happiest person I know, and thanks in part to Social Circus, she's learning lessons that are crucial for young women to learn. Her body belongs to her, and she decides what she does with it. Does that mean she may have 3 different hair colors at the moment? Yes, it does. But the lessons remain true. As a young person, I spent a lot of time searching for authentic communities, and it was rare when I found them. This was hard, and I struggled for years trying to find a place to fit in. My journey to recreate who I am and my communities didn't begin until I was a young adult and started learning the life lessons of Social Circus. Because of Social Circus, my kids are growing up knowing that the work is not searching for an already existing authentic community that they get to be part of. Rather, the work is creating their own authentic communities. Whether at home, at school, at dance class, or at the circus, my kids carry with them the life lessons taught in Social Circus that help them create authentic communities. And so can you. So what am I asking you to do? Join the circus? Well, again, yes, as a lifelong Social Circus practitioner and once performer myself, I am in full support of everyone going out and joining the circus. But if you don't have a Social Circus in a town nearby, and you're not prepared to start your own, you can still build authentic communities using the life lessons taught in Social Circus to create an environment that focuses on community and collective growth for you and for those around you.